We're almost out of time here, and I picked a section which might be too long for you to read, but it is a section about Iran and mourning. And rather than have you read it, maybe we could even just talk about it, about the sort of, I guess, looking at Iran's history, the number of invasions and corrupt governments and dictators. There is this sort of, I don't know if it's a psychology of mourning exactly, but I wonder if you could talk about that.
Sure. Well, I think I teach a program called Understanding Cultural Differences at universities and to even corporate America. And one of the things I talk about is the difference between two types of culture: affective cultures and neutral cultures. And neutral cultures are like U.S., where when you're dealing with emotions, you try to be as composed as possible. The process is very well laid out, and everything goes step by step, and you try to control your emotions. Well, in countries that are affective cultures, that's not the way. Emotions are spontaneous. If you don't show emotions at somebody's funeral, it may signify that you didn't care much for that person. So there is a lot of grieving, there's a lot of pain and crying. I had an uncle who was killed in an automobile accident when he was 27 years old. And my grandmother was 55 at the time. And she never took the black off for the rest of her life. She lived another 20 years, never took the black off. And I don't think I ever saw her smile. She would never participate in holiday celebrations and things like that. It was just very, very hard.
So she mourned forever?
Forever.
The loss of her child.
Exactly, until the day she died. And I remember when on anniversaries or other days when we would go to visit his grave, she would get so emotional that she would start scratching her face, basically drawing blood, scratching her face. And that's common. You see that Iranians are extremely emotional and show their emotions. And we don't deal well with death, I think, in general. In the U.S., there's a process of grieving that they go through. We don't do that well.
But what's interesting, we're almost out of time here. What's interesting, though, is as you describe in Iran, you fall in love instantly, but you could mourn forever.
Exactly.
Oh.
Exactly.
I mean, does that tell us something about
Iran? It tells us something about the history, obviously. I think my father tries to explain in the book that, mourning has become such a huge part of our lives because of many, many invasions that we have had. And, Genghis Khan used to have this contest amongst his people that who could make a taller tower using people's decapitated heads. And so when historically you go through amazing experiences like that mourning becomes a ritual that's close and near and dear to your heart.
I read that you're working on another novel, or your second novel, about a man with 4 wives, but he feels love deprived. Is that true?
Well, that's how it started. It's kind of different now.
It's evolved since then.
It's evolved since then. It's a different story, but it should be ready to come out, I hope, early next year.
So are you a novelist?
I don't know. Well, we'll see. I'm giving it my best shot.
It's been a great pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marty. I appreciate it.
No, well, we're happy to have you here. Mahbod Seraji, our guest today on Radio Times. We've been talking about many things: his life growing up in Iran, his life here in the United States, and his novel, Rooftops of Tehran. And that's it for today's edition of Radio Times. Go to whyy.org/Radio Times and find out more about the program. Also, check us out on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Marty Moscow-Wayne, and you're listening to WHYY-FM Philadelphia and WHYY.org, member-supported public media.